All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Andrews, aka the All-American Driver. Now, you guys remember in the last episode, I actually went and drove a Corvette. Now, this was more or less a base model. It did have the Z51 package, but I wanted to see what I thought about the platform overall. And honestly, the C8 Corvette, the base model basically, is a great car, but it was lacking that like special feeling. So when I talk about like maybe consolidating the S2000 and the Alfa Romeo 4C into one car, it obviously needs to feel very special because these two cars are very exciting to drive, even though they're slow. And now that brings us to today's video where I am actually going to drive the new C8 Corvette Z06. Okay, now the car that I'm going to drive is actually a base model Z06. And I'll tell you right now, if I do end up trying to buy a Corvette Z06, it's going to be a Z07 package car. I'm not sure I need the 3LZ, the 2LZ, all that stuff, but I definitely will be getting a Z07 package if I buy one at all. But I do think that driving the base model Z06 is going to allow me the opportunity to see if the experience is exciting. Is it special? Does the car feel unique? You know, because ultimately, like, just the normal C8, it just felt good. It didn't feel special. And when I'm driving a car, you know, especially a car for fun, I want it to feel special. So there is actually a Porsche dealership near me that has a used Z06. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna try and charm my way into driving the car. Maybe I'll set up a GoPro real quick just so I can drive it. And then I'm gonna give some honest thoughts on it. And then, you know, maybe decide, is this a car that in the future I'm gonna pursue? Zerg, Kerrigan, what do you guys think? Z06? They're actually not that impressed, actually. They just want a back seat and a back road, and they're very happy dogs. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, so I'm back in the Rivian. I did just drive the C8 Z06, and boy, do I have some thoughts on that. Let me get on the road real quick, and then I will tell you guys kind of my impressions and what I think I might do moving forward. So before I get into today's kind of thoughts and everything, I do want to say, you know, I was having a hard time kind of articulate what I meant by special, okay? You know, that the normal C8 that I drove, it just wasn't that special. And let me give you two examples, real world examples for me personally. So one, anytime I see a C8 Corvette, and don't get me wrong, they look pretty exotic, right? They actually do. From a distance, you're like, oh, Ferrari, oh no, it's a Corvette. And then like, I'm really looking, oh, is it a Z06? You know, does it have the quad exhaust tips, you know, in the center? Is it a little bit wider? I'm looking like, oh, and most of the time it's not, and I'm let down, and in my mind I'm thinking, it's just a normal C8, you know, because you see them a lot, but you're not really seeing the Z06s. So that's just one thing that kind of stands out in my mind, like, I'm looking for it. Is it a Z06? No, I'm disappointed, right? So right off the bat, it's like kind of, the base model is like kind of meh to me. Second reason, and now we all know that the C8, the Z06 has that crazy 5.5 liter flat plane crank, V8, revs to the moon, real kind of high pitched. There is one that lives in my neighborhood, a C8 Z06, and it's a Z07 car. It's got aero and stuff. And I can hear that thing coming like 20 or 30 seconds before like it passes my house, just like a normal street, and it's just going like 10 miles an hour, right? But you hear it, you know, and like every time I hear it, I walk to the window and I watch it drive by, you know, and I'm not like running or, you know, stopping what I'm doing, but I hear that sound, like, oh, I think that's the Z06. I go walk outside, and sure enough, there it comes, right? There's another C8, like a normal one that lives by me. I don't even notice when he drives by or she drives by or whatever, because, you know, we're just kind of used to that low-pitched V8 pushrod sound or whatever. So those are just two examples where I mean, like, by something special, okay? Now, let me go ahead and tell you what happened today. So I get to the dealership, and from the pictures that I saw, I thought this car was white. You guys know I kind of have a thing for white cars, but not the end of the world. But I show up and it's like, I was like, is this car actually white? Turns out no, it's some type of gray. It is flat, which isn't bad. It is a flat color, almost like a bluish tint in the shade, but it was just like a gray. I don't know what they call it. It's not destroyer gray, but it's something similar. So right off the bat, I was a little disappointed. It had black rims on it. That was cool. It was fine or whatever. And my saleswoman, Elizabeth, completely awesome. Okay, shout out to her at the Porsche of Jacksonville. Great. She's fantastic. Okay, so I show up. I'm looking at the car. I'm a little disappointed that it's, you know, gray and not white, but whatever. I open the door to like get in it, and I shut the door. And right off the bat, I could tell it was better, it was better put together than the normal C8. When I shut the door on my buddy's car, the base C8, it didn't feel that good. I don't know. When I shut the door on this car, it was like, everything was like nice and solid. She shut her door. It was like, okay, cool. Now we're in the car, you know, cool. So right off the bat, all the materials, everything, good enough for me. I don't need a 3LZ car. So I get out of the car, and of course, like, you can remote start the Z06, right? I know these are stupid things, and you guys already know all this. These are just my experience, right? I wanted to see, like, okay, when I start the car, does it have like that cool? Does it sound cool? You know, whatever. You know, yeah, yes, it does. High pitched, kind of raspy. You know, like, I was like, okay, cool. None of my cars do this. The Alfa Romeo 4C doesn't have that. The Honda S2000 definitely doesn't that. I'm in the Rivian, you know. The coolest cold starting car I have, the Alfa Romeo is like, okay, it's probably our diesel Gladiator, you know, because you get all that little chatter from the things. Anyway, so you start it up, and right off the bat, I was like, yes, okay, this car is cool. This car is cool. Okay, so we get in the car. I wasn't sure if they were like really gonna let me drive it, and I was like kind of having to charm my way around, you know, and whatever. And she's like, okay, well, we can drive it. They took a picture of my license plate. Okay, fine. The car only had like 1,000 miles on it. So we start up the car, and like the red line on the car was like 7,000 or something. So I was a little bit worried, like, okay, the car really isn't broken in, or you know, it hasn't changed or whatever. But it turns out it just wasn't warm. So as we were sitting there idling, I was watching kind of the RPM limit increase. And so I knew right then, I was like, okay, this car's broken in. Let me warm it up so I can rev it out a little bit. And again, this was just a quick test drive, and I wasn't gonna be like, hey, can I bring all my cameras and like do a review on the car or whatever. I was like, I was just happy to drive it and experience driving it. So we drive it. It's a little cold here in Jax. It's probably about 60 degrees. And, you know, I'm driving the car, feels solid. I like the steering wheel. It's kind of square, you know, I'm driving, I'm having a good time. And I get on it a little bit. Thing gets sideways. It's like sounding incredible. Right after I let off the gas, I was like, whoa, okay, this is a completely different car than the base model C8. And ultimately, like, does it have that kind of special, you know, exciting feeling? 100% it does. It was fast, it was loud, it was a little squirrely. It was cold, but it was a little squirrely, but still, like, more or less wanted to go straight, even though the rear end was stepping out. And I mean, again, I've got her in the passenger seat and I'm on a test drive, so I'm not gonna go 10 tenths, but I definitely like revved it out, get in the car sideways, and I like let off. I was like, okay, yeah, this car definitely feels special, very fast. And I mean, I'm in the Rivian right now, and this car is, I forget what it has, 1,000 horsepower, maybe not that much, 800 horsepower, 900, I don't know, but this car is very fast. And so sometimes when I get in my sports car, like the Honda or the Alfa Romeo, or obviously the Jeep or whatever, I'm like, oh, well, my Rivian's faster, you know, and my Rivian might still be faster than the C8 Z06, but dude, that car was fast, and it was pulling. It has top end, and that's something I've been like sort of missing with the two cars I have now. They're the Honda S2000 is slow, okay? It's exciting, but it's slow. The Alfa Romeo 4C around town up until like 60, 70, 80 miles an hour is like pretty quick. But then, I mean, it's just a 4-cylinder. So it's sort of, it's still like fast because it's so light, but it doesn't pull on the top end. And the C8 Z06, that thing, like, obviously I wasn't going like 150 miles an hour on a test drive in town in Jacksonville, okay? But like, it was pulling. That thing has top end on it. And so from my brief 15 minutes driving around in that car, I will say, like, maybe that car is the answer. I can take the top off. The transmission felt great. It was NA. There are some things I don't like about my Alfa Romeo 4C being dual clutch with turbo, because sometimes like the turbo spools and like maybe you let off and like the turbo's still like sort of spooling, and then you shift and it's like, what are we doing? And it's not jerky, but it's not intuitive. It's not that intuitive, right? For whatever reason, the dual clutch of a turbo car, I'm sure at McLaren level and stuff, it's fine. But like at my level, I don't love it. It's not bad, I just don't love it. And so with this car being NA dual clutch, I don't mind not having a manual because you're still getting a lot of feedback from shifting the paddles. I just didn't want this like weird turbo lag delay thing or whatever that I'm getting with the Alfa Romeo 4C. And again, it's not bad, and it's like kind of quirky and part of the car or whatever, but I just don't really like it. So I think the Z06, the C8 Z06 potentially could check every box that I want. It's incredibly track capable, for sure. I was like, I don't want to do it in the truck, you know, but like I was like mobbing around just like on the street, and I was like, holy shit, this thing has a lot of turn in. I think probably more than the GT350R. You know, more than the Alfa Romeo 4C. Hard to say because that thing is manual power steering, so you're definitely working pretty hard in that car. But I was like, wow, this thing is razor sharp, razor sharp. Is it still gonna oversteer a little bit? I don't know. Maybe, you know, you put some negative camber on it, you're probably fine. But razor sharp. When I was just driving around in town, it was fine, like smooth, it was comfortable. Again, this is a 1LZ car, so I wasn't expecting too much. I just put it in sport. Whether or not it's way more aggressive in race or track or whatever the things are, I don't know. I just put it in sport. And yeah, it was fast, handled really well, still very compliant. I mean, it was doing all the things. And ultimately, that's like what Corvette is marketing itself for, just doing all the things. I could take the top off. I've got the trunk, which has got a lot of space. I've got the front trunk, which has got a little bit of a space, but still you've got some space under there. So something to think about. You know, would I buy a kind of a matte gray car? I don't know. You know, I definitely don't want to buy two cars. You know, I'm gonna send over my cars and just see like roughly like where some numbers are, but I don't think this is the one I'm buying. But a C8 Z06 could check all my boxes if I were to consolidate into one car. Now, I'm not making any decisions right now. It seems like prices have started to come down on these cars a little bit, especially with the ZR1 and now the new Zora. You know, I'm seeing like really nice Z07 package cars on Cars and Bid sell for like low 100s. Like I think it sold for like 107 or 105 or something, and you got to pay a little buyer's fee and some tax and stuff, blah blah blah, whatever. There are two Z06s in the state of Florida that I have sort of made offers on. Neither one of them panned out. One of them was a yellow full carbon car, and I think they were asking like 124 or something for that car. And that was a fully loaded 3LZ car, full carbon wheels, carbon roof, carbon arrow, everything. 126, had a little bit of miles on it, whatever. And then there was one recently, that one sold. They didn't take my offer either. Then there was a yellow or orange one just recently, 1LZ car, but it was fully optioned like race spec, right? Had carbon wheels, carbon aero, the carbon ceramic brakes, and that was kind of cool because that was like a base model car with like all the track goodies, you know, all the carbon track goodies, you know. And unfortunately, and I think they were asking like in the 1-teens for that car. I can't remember, 117, 119, something like that. And unfortunately today that car sold. Actually, I was gonna go drive this car, and then if I loved the Z06, I was actually gonna make a legitimate offer on that car. However, they sold it today before I was able to do anything. But I think that cars are out there, deals are out there. Prices are probably going to continue to come down. I think soon you're going to be able to buy a Z06 for sure for sub 100K, and not like some high mileage, you know, garbage spec car. Like, I think you're going to be able to buy a decent one for sub 100K. And that's where like it gets really interesting, because ultimately, like, I sell the Alfa Romeo 4C somewhere around 60K for that car, you know, with 3,000 miles. Yeah, it's been tracked, but I got all the factory parts. The car's perfect, you know, somewhere around 60K. If I sell the S2000, you know, somewhere around 25K, maybe a little bit more if I wanted to sit on it, because it is a perfect spec, relatively low mile car, stock 10 out of 10 VIN. You know, I could probably get 25, maybe 30 if I sit on the car. So we're like already close to 100K. And if, you know, if that's my budget, you know, the Z06, the C8 Z06, I think it checks all the boxes. And as a kicker, and it's an American made car, which I know is like, whatever, it doesn't really mean that much, but like to me, you know, my wife and I were both still in the military. It's still like very much a part of like who I am, you know, like an American, and a proud American, and I want to support America as much as I can. And so buying an American car, I'll be honest, when I go into my garage, I love my cars. I love both the cars. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's too bad. It's too bad I don't have an American car. I honestly think that. You know, the Jeep is an American car. The Rivian, American car. You know, we had the Shelby GT350R for so long, and that was just like perfect on brand for me. An American Mustang, the best Mustang ever built, probably. Manual, for sure, the best manual Mustang ever built. And I kind of miss having an American car, especially with GM/Cadillac getting back into F1. You know, when Alfa Romeo had a team, you know, not this past year, but the year before, I actually liked kind of rooting for Alfa Romeo, even though they didn't perform very well. And now that Cadillac/GM is going to have a car in F1, you know, having a car, you know, the Corvette, you know, it just kind of like, it gives me something a little more to root for. You know, I can cheer them on, and I have a little bit of skin in the game, so to speak, you know, by having a GM product. So anyways, that's just another thing that I'm thinking about. But anyways, my experience, my brief experience with the C8 Z06 is it is nothing like the C8 Corvette, the base model. Yes, it is wild. It is wild. It is fast. It sounds incredible. It felt special to drive, just because of the power band on the car, and again, just like that high-pitched sound. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open. I'm gonna look at the market. I'm gonna send my numbers, you know, to Elizabeth at Porsche of Jacksonville, and just see. Like, I mean, if it's like a dream deal, like they give me exactly what I want, I don't know, it's possible I would bite on that. You know, anyways, I'm not making any decisions right now, but I'm just kind of seeing where I'm at. I definitely really like the C8 Z06, and it could be a car that I move to in the future to consolidate into one, like, just perfect, do everything, dare I say, supercar. On that, thank you guys so much for watching. I know content's been like a little here and there, whatever. I'm busy living my life. I've got so much stuff going on. I've been incredibly busy with work. I'll make a full video on kind of what I've been doing and kind of the path moving forward, because things with Andrea and I have shifted a little bit as far as Italy and things like that. Don't get me wrong, it's still there. But you know, there's some other moving parts that we're kind of dealing with. It is like, I don't want to say incredibly stressful, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And so making videos for this YouTube channel has not been my highest priority in any any sense of the imagination. But I do still enjoy making videos, and I still like cars, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing. So I'll make these as much as I can, and I thank all you guys for watching and whatever, commenting on the videos, and yeah, that's it. Jason Andrews, the All-American Driver. I will see you guys in the next video.